Annyeong, it's Mikey here. Finally, I have in my hands the TTC of King. Super excited to really try this out because I've seen people say it's like one of the best ones out there. We're gonna have to do a full sound test, and I'm changing up the format of my videos now for sound test. No longer is it gonna be just the Wu-Ting in the plastic and zinc case. I actually want to give you guys a little bit more of an accurate sound test. That way, you can kind of see, depending on the board you have, what works. So we're gonna be adding in the Ace 60 from Mchos, which is a plastic board, steel plate. Gonna add the Skylung one because the Skylung also no plate, so it's a very interesting sound profile. Then we're gonna add my 60 HE, which is now in the 460, and of course the 80 HE, both plastic and zinc. That way you guys have a sound profile, and I'm actually gonna be reducing it now to only my top favorite switches. That way it's not gonna be too long of a video. So let's go right into taking a look at the TTC Elf King and see the sound and hear the sound test. So make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. So starting off, we can take a look here. This is TTC Elf King. Thank you again, TTC, for sending me this out because I really want to try it. I know that a lot of the viewers really want to see me review this switch. Now, TTC has sent this out. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information that's out there. We just know that it's a nylon top, 17mm spring, 3.4mm travel. But let me give a sound test with many boards. Now, the TTC Elf King, I gotta admit, really does sound good. The way I could explain it is it almost sounds like the Acro Astrolink, but with a deeper sound profile. This is a big improvement. I have to admit, this is a huge improvement. I really think that they're getting in a better place. I personally didn't like the original TTC switches, the King of Magnet ones, only due to the fact that they had a very high ping to them, which I wasn't a big fan of. This one is definitely a deeper sounding switch, and it's getting close, guys. I can really feel and hear that like we're getting super close to getting to that point of a Thocky magnetic switch. It's so close. This thing definitely sounded a lot thockier in terms of the Skylung board for sure. And then of course, I think with the Wu-Ting ADHE, the sounds just come out a little bit more muted since compared to some of the other boards, which is why I've changed up the sound tests. Please let me know, of course, if this way of doing sound tests is much better. I'd love to know your guys' opinion and hope that this keeps improving in terms of the profiles and like the sounds that I'm doing for you guys. Now, we're gonna have to open up the switch, see how compare it like with the backlighting as well, and see what this switch is truly about. So let's go right into that. So right away, we're going to take apart the switch to take a look and see what we're getting with this one. Now, the King of Magnet was not one of my favorites, though I know that it's one of the better switches in terms of stem wobble. But the sound-wise and the pinging on those switches was just not something for me. Now, let's measure the spring, and we're going to get around the... Like, it's going to be plus or minus 1 millimeters, just keep in mind for my measuring. But I'm looking at around 17 millimeters in terms of the spring measurement, is like, which is quite accurate to what they're saying is at 17 millimeters. So this is going to be a 17 millimeter spring, which seems like it's a little bit on the shorter side. I was kind of surprised on the shorter spring, but I mean, it's okay. Now, of course, I want to, of course, show you guys as well the stock stem looping. Now, I was quite impressed with this. The reason being that the looping on this is quite heavy already stock. Now, when I did my looping tests, like the hand loop tests, I actually had to wipe it off with some tissue and then lube over it. That's kind of how I was doing it. The key thing I realized with the specific stem and with this switch is that keeping it stock is fine. You're going to have a really good time with the stock, but the spring is going to have a scratchiness to it. You're going to have to really make sure to lube the springs. Like for sure use like 105, like Krytox 105, and really grease up the springs, because if you don't, you will get a scratchiness from it. Like the switch is really great, sounds good, and it's quite smooth, except for that spring. That spring does get a really heavy scratchiness to it, which I'm really not a fan of, especially with holofix switches, because the scratchiness for springs in holofix switches are just like worse and compared to mechanical switches. And you get like, if you feel it, like you actually feel it when you're typing because of the scratchiness. So keep that in mind. It is a closed bottom technically, but with 2 holes in it. So is it really a closed bottom? I can't really say that it is fully closed because it has like the 2 hole punches in it. But other than that, the switch definitely has impressed me quite a lot. Now, in terms of the distance, of course, we're gonna have to measure that as well. Now, I'm just trying to line it up perfectly with this because it's like really measured by hand. I can't really say like with accuracy that my measurement is going to be perfect, but we're trying to get it in the spot where we can really measure the distance in terms of the travel. And we're starting off at 15.1, which seems like it's the most where it's stable, and going to 11.6. So that's about 3.5 millimeters in terms of distance. They say it's actually 3.4. So again, my measurement's always going to be like plus or minus 0.1, and we're looking around that range in terms of the distance. Now, I want to give you guys like a stem wobble test. So we're looking at the switches that I use. There's the TTC King of Magnet Palm. We have the Elf King, the T, and the Aqua Astrolink, and the Jihan Raw. So starting off with the TTC King of Magnet Palm. As everyone knows, this box stem that they use for this switch really is good for like having no stem wobble. Like you can really see that it was having like none of it. The Elf King, surprisingly, has very little stem wobble. I think there's a big improvement in terms of this now. I would say most of these new Hall Effect switches are getting like no stem wobble. The Elf King was really good for that. This is the Owlabs T switch, which is really one of my favorite ones in terms of Hall Effect switches right now. And as you can see, like this one's getting very little. You do get some vertically, but still very little. The Astrolink is also a really good one, which again, very little stem wobble. You will get like vertically and horizontally a little bit, but
still very little stem wobble. The Geon Raw HE is an older switch, and even when you think about it, how old it is quite impressive that the stem wobble is quite low. We're gonna put some keycaps on it and also do like a bit of a movement so you can kind of see what it's looking like. This is a bit of a better way to also see. Like you see here, King of Magnet has some movement, but not a lot. This is the Elf King. You can see there is a little bit of movement, but the stem wobble really isn't bad. This is the Outlet T switch, and again, very like mostly vertical. Horizontal is not as much. Astrolink, you do get some vertical and horizontal, but the Geon Raw I think is the most stem wobble out of all of them, and it's still not bad though. Now going into the backlighting test, so to give you guys a look of it, and I'm trying to get like a really accurate coloring, I had to turn off a lot of like the camera like filtering, like the specific settings that I had on it. So taking a look here with the lighting, as you can see, they're all very bright. They all did a great job. All have like this light diffuser on them. A really great job with how bright they can be. In terms of the color accuracy though, like we can go from the left to right. So the TTC King of Magnet Palm. Also, sorry, keep in mind that with the Wu-Ting lightings, because of how the software and how the RGB is, the white is never purely white. It actually has a little bit of a hue to them. Usually a little bit of a pinkish color to it, or like purple. Now, in terms of the color accuracy though, and brightness, the King of Magnet Palm is really great. Very bright, very accurate. The Elf King too. You don't actually get any color disfiguration from it. Same goes for the Astrolink and the Geon Raw. Owllabs T is the only one that you actually do get some color disfiguration due to the color of the switch and due to the color of the diffuser. The diffuser actually has a color to it. Now, going into what I think of these switches. So the Elf King really stood out because it was a very deep sounding switch, and I was quite surprised with how deep it sounded. The way I can explain it is that it's kind of like the Astrolink but with a deeper sound. The Astrolink is also really, really smooth. I think it was one of the closest ones that I could feel was two mechanical switches. And the Elf King really does come out to be very similar, but with a deeper sound than the Astrolinks are. So it is a deeper sound for sure. The T switches though, or the tie switches, I think is probably the most crispiest sounding switch for Hall effect. I have not used a single one yet that has as clean and a crisp of sound like the tie switch or the T switch. That's always one of my favorites. The sound is crisp, like a mechanical switch should be. And these are Hall effect switches, which, you know, it's hard to do that. And the T really does that. But the Elf King, I think you should definitely go take a look at them.
Now, I really hope that this video helped you in terms of seeing if the Elf King is going to be a switch that you should grab. I personally think this is going to go into my top 5 now. Technically, yes, top 5. I think this is really well done. I really like it. The sound profile and everything is good. It just feels a little bit heavy for my fingers. But that's just me personally, right? Like I have a bit like a little bit more of a lighter switch. It feels a little bit heavy on my fingers, but in terms of like the sound profile and the feel of it, I really do like it. It's really smooth. I'm probably gonna set up one of my boards with these switches because it is nice, and I definitely feel like it sounds really, really great. I'll have the links in the description for you guys, so go check them out for yourselves. And of course, come back to some other videos I've had with like magnetic switches. That way you can refer back and refer to this one, and I'll be coming back to you guys with more magnetic switches soon. So please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.